His fame had even spread to the Soviet Union, where literature was meant to serve politics. Increasingly, Soviet writers were not at liberty to tell the truth about the world as they saw it, and instead had to cater to the government. That did not make much difference to the mostly apolitical Hemingway, but he did enjoy the fact that more and more Soviets were reading his works. On August 19, 1935, at a time when American literary critics had made him feel underappreciated at home, Hemingway received a package from Moscow containing a copy of his selected stories, translated into Russian. It was posted from a prominent young translator and literary figure named Ivan Kashkin, who had done more to promote Hemingway's work in the USSR than anyone else, at first among fellow writers, and then with other readers, including a few members of the ruling elite. Hemingway was happy to see the Russian editions and, hungry for compassion and empathy, eager to read an enclosed essay that Kashkin had written in praise of the American writer. In the accompanying letter to Dear Sir or Mr. Hemingway or maybe Dear Comrade, Kashkin told Hemingway how much Soviet readers welcomed his work, almost uncritically. There is in our country no idle gaping at your brilliant and sensational achievements, no grin at your limitations. Without delay, Hemingway wrote to thank Kashkin and tell him what a pleasure it was to have somebody know what you are writing about, so unlike the usual critics in New York. This was the first of many long, remarkably frank letters to the man he would long value as critic and translator. Hemingway wanted to make sure Kashkin understood that while he was happy to have Soviet readers, he was not going to become a communist or even a communist sympathizer. The successful young writer would maintain his independence, despite pressure to move to the left. He explained to Kashkin in a letter that his friends and critics had told him he would wind up friendless if he did not write like a Marxist. But he did not care. A writer, he continued, is like a gypsy who owes no allegiance to any government and will never like the government he lives under. It was better for government to be small. Big government was necessarily unjust. No matter what he claimed, readers on the left began to find traces of class consciousness in Hemingway's writing when he wrote about the fecklessness of American politicians, or how the rich in America ignored the plight of the poor. Some critics pointed to his short story, One Trip Across, about a boatman forced by the failing economy to turn to crime. Others, amazingly, cited a few remarks he made about conditions at home in America in his book The Green Hills of Africa, which was actually a travelogue about the rich man's sport of big game hunting. The story that Hemingway would write for new masses would surprise more than one left-leaning American and focus Soviet attention on him. Edited by American leftists and communists, this Marxist literary review fell just short of being an official organ of the Communist Party of the United States, CPUSA. When New Masses first appeared in 1926, Time magazine characterized it as a smoky vessel, ungainly but powerful, with daubs of red on her lunging bows, and red marks here and there on her somewhat disorderly running gear. That disorder did not matter to a variety of writers who ranged from the world-famous, like George Bernard Shaw and Maxim Gorky, to minor lights known only on the left, all of whom wanted their work published. Some of that work was political, much of it was not. Hemingway submitted articles on subjects as diverse as bullfighting and death in winter at a snowbound chalet in the Alps. He felt free to angrily denounce the editors after they published a scathing review of his novella Torrents of Spring. They only were revolutionaries, he wrote his old friend, the poet Ezra Pound, because they hoped that a new order would see them as men of talent. The editors lashed back that Hemingway was too focused on the individual and did not understand the powerful economic forces determining the course of American history. Those forces made themselves felt in 1929. That year, the stock market crash led to a deep depression that challenged every assumption about the